Hello there, welcome to this video in which I'm going to be focusing on stuff to do with your eyes closed. Some of these things you can do away from the piano as well, which in a way is eyes closed because you're not at the piano. And even away from the piano, you can do them with your eyes closed. So I've put things in order in answer to the question, how do you play quite well, fluently, good finger precision, sense of rhythm, all these things. So I just tried to dissect the elements of playing the piano at any level, any song, any style, and put them in a kind of order that you might want to consider working on, a couple of days on each one, maybe cyclically, or maybe 15 minutes on each if you have time on one day. So work through these cyclically. So the first one I've got down, well, I'll read them first. So I've got finger independence and also having the fingers work together. I'm also going to direct you in the description below to videos which cover these, but some of them I'm going to remake just so they're a bit more modern, better quality, all that stuff. So finger independence, of course, at and away from the piano. Interval precision, because when you play a song, it's not you're not just playing the piano. There's lots of things going on behind the scenes. There's the precision, there's the sense of timing. You know the song very well. Your hands can work together. There's an independence, all that, there's many things going on. The major scales, and that's what I've broken down here in some kind of an order. So interval precision, some things for that. Chord freedom, knowing the types. But the way that you're going to do the way you're going to be able to play these very well is by doing it with your eyes closed. That's the overall theme of these exercises and ideas. Major scale mastery, of course. Hand independence, which comes much later than finger independence, because you can't have hand independence if you don't know what to play. And then a sense of rhythm and metronomic precision, as I like to say, and you need to find a balance between the two, of course. I'm not saying play like a robot, but metronomic precision does help when you're doing technical exercises until you don't need the metronome. So you're using it like a stabilizer on a bike until the training wheels. And then finally, you go to the repertoire, which is where the melody has to be internalized, but there's ways to do that. And the chord progression has to be mastered as well, which also means you can play it in any key because you have your major scale mastery, which I already talked about earlier. So they're in some kind of an order. The video is going to be long, but there's timestamps below. Feel free to jump through. I don't expect anyone to watch it all the way through, but if you do, thank you. So hopefully this is going to be really useful to you. This is going to be like as if you're really with me, a big long lesson and something to play with for a couple of weeks until you would come back and show me your progress. So of course, share your progress in the comments section below. So the first one is finger independence. I'm speaking fluently here, randomly. See how it goes. What I would say to you naturally face to face. So finger independence is absolutely the most important thing. And you worry about finger independence without worrying about keys, major scales, or chords. It's just the ability to have your fingers moving in alternation. But you also need the strength within each finger as well. So that's where you start. I call this the dissection philosophy. Whatever you can't do, break it down to the smallest component where you can do something and build up from there. So a bit of dissection philosophy in there as well as eyes closed. So everything I say, do it with your eyes closed as much as possible. So if I don't say that for a while, it's probably because I forgot to say it, but eyes closed all the way through all of these ideas. So the finger independence comes from individual finger strength. And you can simply, what I call, use and abuse the keys or the major scales or the chords. You can use and abuse anything. So we'll go right back to basics and literally just choose any note, irrelevant of what key it is, what note it is. No, nothing musical about this in the beginning. And you want to spend some time with each finger on the piano in the place where it's going to be most frequently in real repertoire. So you might sort of put the division point around, so like middle C is here. So somewhere around here, you might fairly say that the right hand does everything from middle C upwards, say 80% of the time. And then from C or B downwards is the left hand 80% of the time. I think that's quite fair to say. It's very rare that your left hand's going to come up here. And quite rare the right hand is going to come down here. I think most people would agree with that. So maybe keep that as a structure. And you're going to just do chromatic movements with each individual finger. But you can jump around as well. But close your eyes. So you might start with the thumb and just get used to, you might think it's easy and obvious, but people don't do this stuff enough. You have to go back to these basics. I did this for hours and months in the beginning, and I enjoyed it as well. You can vary the dynamics, you can play around with rhythms if you want, but I'm just getting my thumb used to moving around. It seems so easy. But if you do this with your eyes closed, your internal piano starts to become stronger. I know if I close my eyes, I want an A. If I go down here, I want an F. Down here, I want a D, E flat, G flat, B flat. My eyes were closed when I said that. So my thumb is actually being seen, not with my eyes, but with my internal eye, looking at an internal piano. For me, I just see the black and white notes, nothing fancy, no keyboard or nice wooden piano. I just literally see the black and white shapes, kind of roughly floating in my mind, and I just know where I am. So my thumb is getting a nice little workout. So you can do some chromatic things, you can change the dynamics, you can change the speed, you can put the metronome on if you want, and try and stay in time with that. That kind of is a little bit about the metronomic precision I'll talk about later. But I'm just touching it like this in staccato fashion. You can go to legato, maybe use a bit of pedal if you want, get used to playing the pedal and lifting it up when it gets too muddy. That kind of thing. So just the thumb is having a whale of a time. You're just moving around and it's just getting used to the piano. Of course, there's no tension in the arm, in the wrist. Your fingers are below your wrist is below your elbow. There's no sagging. I call it energy puddles. There's no V's anywhere. So you want to do that with each finger on both hands. I'm not going to, of course, do all of that, but you get the idea. Let's jump to the middle finger. I can't go too low because of my stand, but with the eyes closed, you're strengthening the internal piano visualization, which is what you need to play really, really, really well without being distracted by music. So it's just getting a nice little workout. Now you can take it really far and start to do sort of one of my favourite exercises where you just do this. You can do it over 1, 2, 3 octaves, start all the way down there, and really give that tendon a workout. There's no muscles in the finger. Some people don't believe that. Go and have a look at Wikipedia and you'll find out. It's the tendons, it's the muscles in the forearm, but not in the actual finger. It's just tendons. So you can give them a nice workout. And you might do that with every finger. So for me, my left ring finger is a little bit weak, like it is for everybody. But I've done this a million times. So that's a nice little thing to do. Then go back to regular things, moving around, closing the eyes, E flat, F, E, A. Yeah, A flat, B flat, F, E flat. So you're just moving around. And you're strengthening that internal piano so you don't get lost, which is super important when you're playing songs, because you don't want to get lost when you're playing a song. You can focus only on the black notes, which is a nice thing to do as well. I have a video on that, but I'll link all the videos below. So you're doing that with every finger, and then of course to the right hand, you'll do all the same stuff. Go all the way up here, come all the way down, but that's individual fingers. Then you want to go to the next level and do things with 2 fingers, and I have a nice little pattern for this. So I'll just show you the pattern. You take, for the left hand, you can do it with both hands at the same time, but the pattern in the left hand is little finger and middle finger on a C and an E. You can do this in all the keys, but let's keep it simple. And then the ring finger and the index on the D and the F. And just doing this alternation. It's very hard in the beginning. I couldn't do this, years ago. You really have to do it slowly, slowly. Find what I call your natural limit, where you can do it, and then just with the metronome, just think, I can do it now at 120. Oh, now I can do it at 160. It's quite satisfying, and there's a nice little pattern for this, and it goes like this. It goes bom, 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 bom. So a little break between them, and then you do it without the break. Bom, 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 bom. And you do it both hands. So right hand would be thumb, middle, and then index, ring. But you have to do that with your eyes closed, so you're not distracted by looking with your eyes. So when you know the major scales, you can start doing that in different keys. So you get these different, your fingers are in different positions. So you're moving between the white and the black notes. So that's a nice sort of thing to do there. Another thing to do is what I like to call poking. you choose them. You can do this with major scales or chord types, but let's just go to the beginning and we'll do it with any notes because that's where we are at the moment. And you'll choose the same finger on each hand or different. I'll use, what haven't we used? I'll use my little finger on my left hand and my right ring finger, really, weak fingers. And I'll keep the hands open, and I'm just gonna hit notes. You can do this with your eyes closed. You can stay within the octave. You can hit the same note if you want. Just to get used to the hands working together. And just create these little melodies. So it's a situational awareness exercise. It's a familiarity with the keyboard exercise. It's a little bit of a precision exercise. And of course it's a finger independence exercise, which is why we're doing it. And again, you can take that further and start to use all 5 fingers, where you might just take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and do some little staccato things, the classic one like this. But if you're a beginner, or you haven't really done this kind of thing before, it's not super easy. You can make this more difficult by separating it by another octave, but of course your eyes are closed, so it shouldn't matter. Of course you can go all the way out. Do it in different keys, taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe do it in F sharp once you know that scale. And you get some black note action in there. And you can do you can change the timing. So instead of playing it 1 each, you play 1 for every 2. So and then reversing it, doing all these variations. So play around with that. A couple of hours, a couple of weeks. Finger independence. 1 hand alone, both hands together. You can start to play some chromatic things together. I can show you one of my favourite little patterns, which is to go, you start on the C, you go up over that group of 2, back down again, back over it, but over the group of 3, back down the group of 3, and then over the group of 3 again, back to over the 2, down, over the 3, back down, all the way over the 2, back down, and then all the way up over the 3 again. So you can just do that, which is just a fun little exercise I used to enjoy doing a lot. Like that. That's a fun little thing to do. All about finger exercises, finger independence. And do as much of that with your eyes closed as possible. Now, interval precision requires you to keep one finger on a note and alternate that one fixed finger with the other fingers. Now, one of my favourite exercises, I'm sure some of you have seen this, I call it the butterfly exercise, where you start with a symmetrical starting position like C and E or B and F or even A flats, because they're symmetrical on the way out, you see? Up and down, it's the same black and white pattern. You can make it harder by doing it on alternating notes, but then it's a bit more advanced, but it's a nice thing to try and do. And you start, for example, with thumbs, and you'll alternate with only the index finger on both hands, chromatically alternating to your natural stretch. Don't go as far as you physically can go, because you'll never play like that in real life. Maybe just comfortably, for me it's maybe there. Eyes closed, this is so relaxing. I just love doing this. It's a great exercise, and then you can start moving it around and try to do some jumps. That kind of thing. That kind of thing, moving around like that. And then you do it with the middle finger and then the ring finger, but you can maybe open out a bit more because you need a bit more space, so maybe an A and a G. So I'm doing it with the thumb and the ring fingers. Really great exercise to do. And then you'll put because we did all that with the thumb, then you'll put the index fingers as the fixed finger, and you'll alternate with the middle finger, and then the ring finger, and then the little finger. And of course you don't have as much stretch on these, but that's fine, because that's just how the hand is made, it's just the anatomy. So this is a really, really, really great thing for independence, for interval. I can't talk and do it. Interval independence, etc., etc. And you can do that an octave apart, start on different notes to make it more challenging. It's really, really good. Another thing about interval precision is what I call leaps, which is kind of anything over a fifth, I guess. Maybe there's a musical, definition of that, but I think a leap is, maybe it's more than an octave, actually. But anyway, taking an octave like this, jumping like this. You can do it down the major scale, or you can do it chromatically. And of course with the eyes closed, really, really, really challenging, but very, very useful. And of course with the left hand as well, you do it with both hands. I'm worried about knocking my stand, unfortunately, so I can't really do it there very, very easily, but you get the idea. But the thing is that my brain knows where to go, and my hands go there. So it's not my eyes looking. When I think I've got to go to the second, I've got to go to the minor, I have to go to the fourth, I have to go to the sixth. I'm seeing it as numbers in the major scale. I'll go to the flat 5. Sorry, it's the sharp 5, the raised 5th, rather. So I'm going to the number where it belongs, 5. Here's a flat 5 here from the A. So you can do this kind of thing as well. That's a nice little thing for precision as well, interval precision. And I think of another one I used to do, interval precision. This was just a chromatic scale thing, where you take an interval, let's just say a 5th, and you play that interval chromatically. Just moving it around like this, which is fun to do with the eyes closed as well. And again, you can do that in octaves. Let's do a 4th. So I'll ruin that. 4. So you get the idea. You can move around in different intervals in different ways. So interval precision is really, really beneficial. Everything we're doing here, all of these things come before the melody and chord progression stuff of repertoire, because they require you to have already mastered finger independence, interval precision, and the next one now, chords, major scales, all these things, sense of rhythm, are required before you approach repertoire. So it's disappointing for me when people tell me they can't play that piece. It's not because they can't play the piece, it's because they haven't got these things in place already. Chord freedom is extremely important, and now I'm thinking about it, I probably should have put major scale mastery first, because chords come from major scales, so I'm going to switch them over and talk about major scale mastery first. I have a whole playlist on it. It's called Absolute Major Scale Mastery. It's below, and it's to be honest, I don't really want to waste too much time in this video talking about it, apart from say master the major scales at and away from the piano. You need to feel each major scale as if you're in it, and it gives you a different feeling. I've said it many times, that each key makes me feel a different way. It looks different, but that's not the point. It makes me feel a different way. And it has a different shape, a different feeling. So, for example, the key of D looks like a tent. I learned these in just a few days, really, when I first started out on the piano. And so I've known them for whatever that is, 25 years or something. But I knew them in a week. It hasn't taken me, years to learn them. It took me a week. So D, for example, it looks like a tent going up to the top of the pole, then it sags down in the middle, goes up to the other pole, it's kind of like a circus tent. So every time I see D, I just see that circus tent sort of overlaid a little bit. I can talk about all of them, but you get the idea. So when it comes to major scale mastery, you really have to know the shape. It's not about playing it super fast, the kind of Russian school style where you're up and down like Liszt. You'll get to that point eventually, but it's not about that. It's just, even if you take a pencil, which I do not have nearby, and you just touch the notes of the scale. The second thing is, don't learn it in order. You have to be able to jump around, which kind of comes into the precision thing as well. Jump around everywhere on the piano, only playing the notes of that key. And when you get good at that, try to put the numbers 4, 7, 3, 2, 5, 7, 4, 6, 2, 4, 1, 3, anywhere on the piano, because the whole piano becomes that key when you're playing. Let me just do it in E flat, which is my favourite key. So I see E flat everywhere. It's just 2 whites, 2 blacks, 2 whites. Very, very simple shape. So I see that key everywhere on the piano. The whole piano becomes E flat. So no longer is the G the 5th of C. It's now the 3rd of E flat. So the number changes. It's called note value awareness. So now I might go 3, 5, 2, 6, 2, 4, 5, 7, 1, 4, 5, anywhere, it doesn't matter. Here's the minor if you want to start changing. Play the minor, play the sharp 5. That's what it means. So it's absolute major scale mastery, but I have a whole playlist on that, and that goes into a lot of detail. It's just 12 videos. The first one's a bit longer than video 2 to 12, but video 1 is explaining what the others are going to include, including itself, the key of C major. And it goes around the cycle of fourths, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, etc. So major scales are absolutely necessary, and you can use them for finger independence and use and abuse the major scales. Finger independence, interval precision, octave practice, speed, when you try to do staccato, legato. You can do anything with major scales. Now, the chord freedom. Chords are built on major scales, and they begin from the root often, and you build them up in odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7. I'm not going to go further than this, but in jazz, you continue after the 7, and you go 9, 11, 13, and these are the missing notes. And that's how you get the whole scale, which you may not have realised, but that's how it is. So the missing notes between 1, 3, 5, and 7, the 2, 4, and 6, actually become extensions in jazz. That's how you get these nice sounds, all these fancy sounds. So you want to get used to playing basically every chord in every key. Now, I made something called the Dan the Composer Piano Challenge. I'll have a link to that video below. And I have a sequence to learn the chords in all the keys. And again, you can use the chords for practicing finger independence, hand independence, rhythm, positions on the piano, do them down here, do them up here, all different kinds of things. Staccato, legato, different patterns, block chords, open, rolling chords, so many variations. So you use and abuse the chromatic scale, the major scales, chords. You use and abuse them for your own benefit. So in this case, I'll give you the sequence of chords. So if you have a pen, maybe pause the video or look at the video I've linked below to the piano challenge. So it goes major 7. You have to, in the video, you're supposed to go, how do I do it? I do it like this. So staccato with my natural fingering. So it goes major 7, dominant 7, so C7 in this case, and then minor 7. Minor only refers to the third. Minor doesn't mean flat something. Some people say like, they'll say C, minor the 7, or minor the 5. No, that's ridiculous. Minor only refers to the third, so you cannot confuse it with any other thing happening in the chord. C major 7, because you're playing the 7th of the major scale. So you play it twice. Then the 7, the C7, twice. Then the C minor 7, so E flat. Then it goes to C minor, major 7. So you're playing what you say. C minor, major 7. So that's the first 4 chords. They're the 4 variations from 1, 3, 5, 7. Major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor major 7. They're the only variations. The next little group is with a 6th chord, 1, 3, 5, 6. 1 minor 5, 6, which is a minor 6 chord. Minor 6 doesn't mean minor the 6th, because that would be flat the 6th, which you don't do. It's called C minor, because it only refers to the third 6. So from the beginning, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor major 7, 6, minor 6. Now from here, you're just going to move to 5, and you're going to flatten it to get the whole diminished, which is a minor with a flat 5 and a 6 on top, which is one of my favourite chords. So 6, minor 6, whole diminished. Then you're going to go to half diminished, where the 6 goes up, and it's now the flat 7. So it's like a C7, but with a minor and a flat 5. And then it ends on augmented, which is sharp 5, and you can put the 7 in there if you want. So C, E, G sharp, which is a nice chord. And you can put the 7 in there if you want to, or just play it as an octave. And the chord it doesn't include is a sus4, so you can put the sus4 in there if you want to. And then go to the augmented, and you can put the 7 on both of those. So that's the sequence. And you do that going around the cycle of fourths. So you do that in C, and then in F. I'll just do it in F quickly. 7, minor 7, minor major 7, 6, minor 6, flatten the 5, go up to the half diminished, and then I'll put the sus4 in with the 7, and then the augmented. Like that. And you'll do that in then B flat and E flat and A flat. You need to spend time doing this. You need to know the chords, or you can't play any repertoire. You need to know the major scales, or you can't play the chords because you can't find the note values because you don't know what the scale is. Everything comes from major scale mastery. You can do this exercise in your mind away from the piano, and of course you'll be doing this, I have to say it of course, eyes closed to get the feeling. I'm seeing this on my internal piano. It's all in the internal piano. Chord freedom is great. You can, of course, do single finger exercises. So just jumping around C7, you can just jump around like this. So you don't have to worry about interval names because you can just see the notes from the root position. And you can then just pick out those notes anywhere you want. I'll do F minor 7 in root position. This is what it is. But then you just start mixing it around. I don't even care what the inversion is. I'm just playing those 4 notes from that chord in any order I want, because I can see the chord everywhere on the piano. It just doesn't matter what inversion I play, I just see it everywhere on the piano. I haven't memorized those, I just see the notes and I play them. So that's chord freedom. And there's other videos on things you can do with chords, different exercises. You can roll them, descending. You can bounce, which is one of the favourite things I like with the pedal. You can kind of go like this. Let's play B flat 7, E flat major 7, little 2-5-1 there. I don't want to hit the pole thing. So that's a nice little thing to do. You can play one chord type chromatically. Major 7. One of my favourite things to do is bouncing from the little finger on the left hand and the thumb in the right hand. I'll do it with hold diminished. Just bouncing up the hold diminished chord in all the keys, like that. Lots of things to do, and of course eyes closed, eyes closed, eyes closed. Hand independence is quite a big topic. I will say that you don't have 2 hands, you have 10 fingers, which is a mentality shift, a shift in your paradigm. In other words, when I'm playing, I'm not seeing that my left hand is doing this and my right hand is doing that. For me, these fingers, wherever they are doing what they have to do at that moment, basically. So if I were to play, I don't know, let's take Liszt's Liebestraum, that pretty piece. I'll play it how I want, not how it was written, just how I want. So it starts on A flat. I'll start with an E7 chord to go into it. So even there, I just started to play this chord here, and my left hand could go up here and go on that last E flat. I don't care what hand is playing, and it's going to go. So my thumb played the C instead of my right hand. You see what I mean? I'm not fixating on left hand doing this. Only playing the melody. Sorry, the left hand not only playing the chords. It's going to mix together. So. See, I don't care what finger is doing what. I just know that the melody is. I know that's the melody, and I can see that's in the key of A flat, and all the notes are based on A flat, apart from that one out of key note. And the chord progression is in A flat, 1, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. So it's basically a jazz chord progression, but that's the last thing I'm going to talk about, these progression stuff. the progression stuff. So because I know it's, I know the melody, I know it's 1-3-6-2-5-1, and it's a dominant 7 for each chord, so I could just do what I want. I don't care which hand is doing what at all. I could play the whole thing in my left hand if I want, and play some chord things up here. E flat 7. I'm overthinking here, but you get the idea. I'm playing the melody with the left hand, and the right hand just playing chords. It doesn't matter what hand is doing what. A bit of an extreme example, but you know what I mean, hopefully. So the first thing about hand independence is that it doesn't exist, which I think is very interesting. You just play what you have to with whatever hand you have to play with. I think a nice way to practice that is with the major scales, of course. You can blend the hands together, so you might play the first few notes with the left hand, and then finish with the right hand. Things like that, key of F. If you didn't watch me, in fact, I can even give an example of how I can play a song with one hand. I'll play Fly Me to the Moon, everyone knows it, and so it's going to go... I'm only playing with my right hand, and I could, of course, do that in the left hand as well. So hand independence isn't really something technical. It's a mentality. And so when you're learning any piece, even if it's written and it's a score, don't worry too much about thinking that the left hand is doing this and the right hand is doing that. A very good way to practice scores is to actually play the left hand part with the right hand, but just an octave higher. So in that Liebestraum piece, the left hand is basically going... it's doing this kind of open hand thing. So I would do that in the right hand, just to practice it, or even do it both together, only the left part. So I might go... so it starts on an A flat, goes 5, octave, 3. So I'll do it in the right hand. So you just play it in the right hand and then do it with both hands. So it doesn't matter what hand is doing what, and then play the melody with both hands. So you're breaking away the idea of left hand is always doing that, right hand is doing that. Both hands can do anything they have to do. And it's very, very interesting. Another nice thing to do is to connect longer passages. For example, chords. You can do little things where, let's just take a simple C major chord, and you just blend them together in this kind of... because when I'm playing this, if somebody was listening, it would sound like I'm doing it only with the right hand. But I'm not. I'm doing it. I'm breaking it up. I'm sharing it between the hands. So you can just do little things like that. Of course, eyes closed. Just get used to just sharing things between the hands. May just get even with octaves. Let's just do the key of what won't hit my stand. I guess the F won't. So you might just kind of go like you can do some octave climbing. It's a nice little thing to do, but make it melodic. It's like the hands are handing off the melody and the requirements to each other. It's a nice little thing to do. Now, the sense of rhythm and metronomic precision, I'll start with the metronomic precision. you put your metronome on, you find the speed that you can do it. I mentioned it earlier. You're finding your natural limit, and you do an exercise at that speed, and it's very satisfying. So let's just say that this, when we were talking about this thing here, maybe I can't touch it, otherwise it will kill the signal for the piano, so I can't demonstrate it with the metronome. But let's just imagine I put the metronome on and it comes out at 100 clicks. I set it to 100, which is probably about that. Can you do that exercise there? If it's too fast, lower it by maybe 20. If you can imagine the clicking going click, 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 like that. You think, I can do it at that speed. Push it up maybe 85, do it a bit faster. And eventually, very quickly, quicker than you can even imagine, you will be able to play that kind of thing at 180 or something. Even too fast for me. You'll just be able to do it very fast. And you can do the same thing with scales. You'll just be able to go up all the keys very, very, very quickly. So you find your natural limit. Metronomic precision is super, 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 super important. And of course, eyes closed helps even further. But the sense of rhythm, there's different rhythms. And you have to listen a lot to these rhythms. And of course, there's a million albums that you can listen to for different styles. So, of course, start with jazz, you get the swing. Most classical music doesn't swing, it's just straight. You can listen to Latin rhythms and Asian rhythms. There's so many Indian rhythms, all these different kind of rhythms. So you need to internalize them away from the piano completely with headphones and listen to them. And you can then apply different rhythms to major scales and chords. So let's just take like the bossa nova rhythm. There's a nice bossa nova likes sixth chords. So you'd practice that as a feeling. I can feel it. I might just use some sixth chords with that rhythm. So I'm just feeling the rhythm. Let's just do a major scale with that rhythm. So I can feel the rhythm inside, and you're transmitting that through what you're playing. Let's do a very, very straight march. Very, very straight. But what about a waltz? You know that's a waltz very quickly. So you can practice feeling a rhythm and portraying it through major scales or chromatics and chords. And you can just make up stuff. So you might just kind of play octaves for the major scale and a little bounce like that. Let's make it minor to make it sound a bit more Chopin-esque and waltzy. You get the idea. I played the full note and I threw myself off. But you get the idea. Play around with stuff like that. There's a big difference between 4/4 and jazz. The swing feel. And a good way to explain that is through actually ragtime. I have a video on ragtime. I have quite a lot of videos on ragtime. And, Scott Joplin, the so-called king of ragtime, stride, ragtime, he used to swing a lot of his rags. And you can hear them, actual recordings. It's not just... a rumour. He really did it. So if I just take the main part of what do you call it? The maple leaf rag. If you play it straight, it's like this. But if you swing it, you need to have a bit of pedal in here. Straight. Swing. So you're swinging. I have a video on how to swing, and it's about feeling the offbeat. It's about feeling that and. So instead of just going like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, it's a kind of 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And I created a little like diagram where you can visualize how the rhythm works when it's straight and when it's swing, because it's slightly off center. And when you see it visually on a piece of paper, I think it helps. Instead of just, like this, it's like you're going beyond the middle point. You're going, it's just a bit further on, and that graphic helps. I'll link to that video below. But again, you can use chords and you can use scales to portray rhythm. And that is helped with the metronomic precision. So do use the metronome, but don't play metronomically because it becomes, very dry and robotic. But definitely use it to help you with all the technical exercises until you can do it fast enough that you don't need the metronome. I think that's pretty good advice. And the last thing is melodies and chord progressions from repertoire. Again, I have other videos on this, they're linked. But when it comes to repertoire, you have to learn the song away from the piano first. Don't try to learn music at the piano. Really, please don't do that. Because you're just going to become frustrated because you are fumbling a lot, you're forgetting things a lot, and you're always looking up at the score. This doesn't matter if it's a written piece of music, some Chopin piece or whatever, or a jazz piece with just chord symbols. Doesn't matter. You have to learn the score or the chord progression away from the piano. So I'll give you an example in jazz. You will study the score and you will notice regular patterns. And of course, that's the 2-5-1 progression, the 6-2-5. There's lots of movements where you move up a fourth. And if you can internalize that sequence, it's going to help you a lot. There's a nice song I've mentioned to somebody that I recommend they learn, but it's a lovely song. It's not a very famous song, but it's I heard it in a TV show, and it's just a kind of a cute, fun song. It's called She's Funny That Way. And it's in the key of E flat, and it just goes, the melody is very, very simple, but I'm going to highlight the chord progression quickly. It's just a cute little song. And all it is just one. Numerically, it's 1, 5, with an augmented, the sharp 5, 1, sharp 5 augmented. So you practice just that first part. 1 as a major 7, 5 augmented. So you can do that in any key. Let's do it in the key of A. Upper fifth is E, so it's going to be E augmented. It's this, and you know that from the Dan the Composer Piano Challenge. So it's got the same sound as the other one I did. Let's do it in the key of F. It's going to be F major 7 and then C augmented. So this is how I used to learn songs. Identify blocks of chords which are easy to remember and then play them in different keys. That also helps you learn chords in different keys so you're ready when that comes up in another song. And that's it. And when it comes to the melody, I always learn melodies based on the master key of the piece. So that's E flat. So I'm seeing 5, 6, 5, 6. Even if the chord changes, I'm seeing it as 5, 6. Up to the dominant 7, down to the 5. And then again. Sorry, I'll do it from the beginning. 5, 6. And here I'm just playing the chord, because it doesn't matter what hand plays the chord or the melody. I'm just helping the left hand with playing some notes from B flat augmented, because I know the chord everywhere on the piano. The whole piano becomes that chord for that moment. Then it goes to 3 as a whole diminished, and then 6 as a 7. So I'd remember that in my mind before I even tried to play it, and that's how I learnt that song. So I'm like, okay, fine. So it's 1, 5. So it's 1 major 7, 5 augmented. Like a few times. Then it's to 3 as a whole diminished. My eyes are closed. 3 as a whole diminished, and then 6 because it's doing the 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 progression, which you should have locked in your mind anyway. The sequence 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. You have to master that. Internalize it. So I know it's just going. That's on my battery on the phone. So I know it's going 1, 5, 1, no, 3, 6, 2, 5. 3 is whole diminished, 6 is dominant 7. So then I do that in a different key. So we just did it in A. So it's going to go to 3, which is C sharp. So it's going to go 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 3 whole diminished, and then 6 E flat, 6 as a dominant 7. 6 is F sharp. So it's doing that. So 1, 5. So this is how I used to do it. And then 3, and then 6 as a regular dominant 7, and that's F sharp. So that's how I used to learn these songs. So I didn't learn it in necessarily its master key, in its original key. I was just playing it anywhere. And that helped me so much with my eyes closed or away from the piano, mastering these simple, common sequences. And if you're learning something written, then you just master what hand you want, really, first, through a few bars. So maybe it's a left hand, like this piece I keep talking about. You can just see this nice little left hand pattern. So you might sort of internalize that, see how it's constructed. Oh, it's going 1, 5, octave 3. That's quite nice. It's going 5 in the root to the third to the dominant 7. You can see it. So you internalize it and imagine yourself playing it before you go to the piano. Only that hand. Forget the right hand. Then that's internalized. And then you might want to play that with the right hand. And like I showed earlier, you'll play the left hand, but as the right hand, an octave or 2 higher. That really reinforces it. And then you'll learn the melody. Bit by bit, you'll see the pattern. So it's going 5, 6, up to the dominant 7. So we're in the key of A flat for this. So it's 5, 3 in the key of A flat. Up to 4, down to the 6, 7, root, 3, 2, 1. All simple notes from A flat. That's the key of the piece. Liszt's key of love. So then I'd learn that melody in a different key, just to practice it in another key, just to drill the number sequence. So that's how all of this comes about. So if you think that you've been doing this for weeks and months, you've got really good finger strength, independence on the tendons, you've given them a good old workout, you're pretty good with the precision, you've done the whole chord challenge in all the keys, you've got your major scales down, but you should have that first before the chords. I did put them in the wrong order. And then you just think about hand independence as not really an issue, because the whole piano becomes that chord, it becomes that key. It doesn't matter what hand does what. Get the sense of rhythm down thanks to your metronomic precision. When you then approach repertoire, can you imagine how easy it's going to be? You're going to recognize the progression. You're going to be able to do anything you want with the left hand, anything you want with the right hand. You're going to play any chord in any inversion. And no challenge is going to be too much. And if it is, you focus in on that difficult part. If you're learning classical music or romantic music, you slow it down, you zoom in, you do the right hand with the left hand with the right hand, and you close your eyes, you master it away from the piano as well. All these things. Nothing is too hard for you, which is one reason why I don't really agree with grades. If someone comes to me and says, I'm just starting out the piano, I'd say, what piece do you want to learn? Most people will say, I'd love to learn that, but I know that's a few years away. I'm going to say, that's the piece we're starting with. Even if traditionally it's a grade 7. Now, many people might think that's ridiculous, but it's not, because we will dissect it, and you will acquire the skills required to play that piece through the dissection, the simplification philosophy. It might take 3 months to learn the first 4 bars, but my goodness, you will know those bars perfectly. You will have acquired all the techniques required for that, which can apply to other songs. You'll be able to play the left hand with the right hand, or the right hand with the left hand. You'll probably be able to transpose it to another key on the spot. You'll be playing it a lot quicker than you can possibly imagine. But before you come to repertoire, you have to have spent some time, many hours for weeks, on this finger independence, interval precision, major scale mastery, chord types, and then getting down some precision with timing, having your hands share melodies and chords between each other. And when you've got all that down, and that only took me about a year or so in the beginning, because of course in the beginning I couldn't play anything. I didn't know any chords, I didn't know any keys, any shapes, any scales. But it just came very, very quickly. I got the major scales down. I was imagining them when I was walking to and from school, riding my bike everywhere, or fishing when I used to go fishing. I threw the fish back. I was doing major scales and chord shapes in my mind. And then I started to acquire songs, and I was internalizing the progressions numerically and playing them in different keys just for fun. I didn't realize I was a water pianist all the way back when I was 14 or so, 15. So I hope all of these things help you. The other videos help you. And if you made it this far, then thank you very much and congratulations. You're on your way to becoming an extremely good pianist without wasting your time and money on books telling you to do this and do that and learn this and learn that, because no book was written for you. You're the one writing your music book, and the only thing that applies to everyone is the things I've written: finger independence, interval precision, major scale mastery, knowing all the chords, hand independence, metronomic precision, and having an extremely strong internal piano visualization in your mind, taking the time to learn things away from the piano. These are the things that are going to make you an amazing pianist, or any instrument, really. So hopefully it's all been of use to you. As always, likes, comments, subscriptions are welcome. Have a look at my video management website, Water Pianism Syllabus, perhaps Patreon, and all my playlists. And I'll see you in the next video. All the best, and bye for now.